Hello everyone, welcome to our incredible chess channel guys, and our today's topic of discussion is going to be the classical game. Yes guys, today we are going to see the game played by the magician from Riga. His name is, I hope you know his name is Mikhail Tal. Yes, he is well known for his spectacular play, his sacrifices and his precise calculation guys. So this game which we are going to see was played between Mikhail Botvinnik and Tal in the world championship match, which actually Mikhail Tal won in the year of 1960-61. Okay, so what really happened in this game, how this game went into complications, and then Mikhail Tal came up with some brilliant ideas with his rook lift and then sacrifices. We are going to see everything this. So stay tuned till the end with me and enjoy this game guys. So let's begin. Before we go further, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you are new here. So here white is Mikhail Botvinnik. He started with c4, knight to f6, and then knight f3 was played, g6, g3, bishop g7, bishop to g2, castles d4 and d6. We know this thing that this is the King's Indian setup, King's Indian opening, which Tal has implemented from the black side. And I have already made two videos related to this King's Indian opening. If you have not seen those videos, then I will request you to do check out those videos guys. Okay, so now knight c3. Now knight comes to the d7 square and white just simply castles. In order to grab the center here in this position, Mikhail Tal goes with the e5 move and now e4. Of course, black is trying to get the center control, so white also is going to do the same thing. So here he plays c6. This kind of a waiting move, as well as whenever the d5 move will be played, which actually was played in the game in the future, you can always capture the pawn on d5 square. That's the main idea of playing c6. Okay, so white plays h3, queen comes on the b6, and now it is asking white to do something in this position because the pawn on d4 is under attack. Knight captures e4 is also one of the threats. So I'll tell you one thing, like let's suppose you play some random move, okay, king h2, just for the sake of clarity, then I might just capture and then knight captures here, and the possibility of knight e4 is there because by whichever piece you capture here, bishop can capture on d4. So this is one of the ideas which I was showing you with the arrows after queen to b6. Okay, fair enough, white plays d5, not going for anything like that, and now c captures d5, c captures d5, and the knight lands on the c5 square. The pawn on e4 is under attack, so white needs to do something about this threat, right? So white plays knight e1, just supporting the pawn on e4 with two pieces, knight on c3, as well as the bishop on g2. Now he plays bishop d2. Of course, Tal needs his rook, okay, this as well as this in the game, so he makes some room for the rooks to come in the game. Very natural move, I must say. The knight comes to the d3 square, challenging the knight which is sitting on the c5 square here. Knight captures on d3, queen captures d3, and now a very interesting idea. So guys, I will ask you a simple question in this position, okay? You want to develop your rook, where you are going to develop that rook. The rook on a8 can always come on b8, c8, d8, e8, anywhere, and rook on f can also come on any of the square. But my particular question is, like, will you develop this rook to c8 or this rook to c8? So confusion is there, okay? Do comment about this in the comment section, and when you have decided, then only go further. I hope that you have written the comment here. So he decided to play rook f8. You might ask me, like, why this rook c8? Well, the thing is, like, at some point the pawn on a5 will be going further and this rook might be needed on that side of the board. That is one of the thing in this position. So he plays rook b1, the knight h5. Of course, f5 is one of the ideas in this position. Bishop e3 attacking the queen, and now here comes the move, a very activating move, like queen to b4. Of course, there are certain ideas in this position. Whenever the f5 will be played and the rook will be coming on the c4 square, that was the main idea of playing queen to b4. The rook lift is going to happen, and rook as well as the queen will be doing wonders on the fourth rank. We will be looking at all those things, so stay tuned till the end guys. Don't just leave from now, okay? Don't skip the things. So queen e2, okay, he goes behind because the point is, like, if you play f5 at any point, a small threat can be, like, if you capture, then the queen will be capturing the knight on h5 square, and whenever you capture bishop into f5, the threats related to g4 are there. Of course, I know that the rook on b1 is attacked, but certain threats are there. That's what I want to say. Here he plays rook c4, attacking the pawn on e4 square, and now rook f c1. Well, white wants to exchange some pieces in this position, so he brings the last rook in the game, the last piece in the game, you must say. Rook a c8, king h2, and now here comes the f5. See, Tal understand that in order to win against Botvinnik, you have to play dynamic chess, and because of his dynamic play, he won this World Championship match also against the great Mikhail Tal. And to complicate the situation, he goes for the f5, which is actually the essence of any King's Indian game. You have to play f5 in King's Indian. If you don't play that move, then I don't know exactly how you are going to create your chances on king side, because on queen side usually white is quite strong. Okay, fair enough. Now e captures f5, bishop captures f5, the rook on b1 is under attack, so rook goes to a1 square. And here in this position, I want to tell you one anecdote about this position, that when in one of the interviews, Vishy Anand was asked like which is his favorite game from Mikhail Tal and Botvinnik World Championship match, and he pointed out about this game and especially about this position. He said like here in this position, the move which was played is his favorite move of the game, knight f4. Why is he really going for this? This objectively speaking, this is not the best move in the position. Maybe knight f6 was better, where you can play slow and steady chess, but this kind of moves actually suits the magician, the Mikhail Tal from the magical city, that is the Riga. Because I want to tell you one more thing about Riga. Another player who is Alexei Shirov is from also Riga, Latvia, and these both the players are just too much awesome. I really love their games. Okay, G captures f4 and E captures. Okay, Tal has sacrificed a piece, but why? Here opponent goes for bishop d2. Now this knight anytime can move and the queen on d4 will be under attack. And here in this situation, he goes for queen into b2. Well, he's putting some pressure on the c file, as well as some pressure is there on this diagonal. Okay, now rook a b1 attacking the queen in this position, and now here he plays f3 move. This is another important move in the situation. Why is he playing this move? He is sacrificing a queen. Well, he'll be getting back the queen for sure. Here the best move from white side was of course bishop into f3, and the game will go on bishop into b1, rook into b1, and then queen c2, rook c1, and then okay, there can be a draw if you just keep on playing the moves. And another thing is like what happens if you play queen f5. This is also one of the moves, but the problem is here bishop g4 is coming, and if queen e5 check is given, you can capture this thing, bishop into f5, bishop into f5, f4, bishop into e5, f4, and then if you capture bishop into c3 or whatever it is, the point is like the rook on c8 is hanging. So this variation, even if you play rook c8, still I will say like bishop into c8. Okay, white should be better in this position. Okay, fair enough. Another thing is like instead of rook b1, what if knight d1 is played? Then queen e5 is actually a good idea. If you capture here, rook into c4 even if you play, then rook into c4, and these two bishops will be pretty strong in this position and white should be winning. Okay, coming back to the game, rook b1 was played in this situation, and now f3, rook into b2, and then f into e2, rook b3, and now he plays another good move with the rook d4. In this game, I really love the way he handled the position with the rooks. Okay, so pay attention to the rook moves here, bishop e1, and now he goes for bishop e5 check. Look at these two bishops pointing towards white's king side. Okay, although white is piece up in this position, but the pawn on e2 is a strong passed pawn, coupled with this bishop in the center of the board, plus the rooks are also pretty active. So white needs to be careful in this position. King g1, and now he plays bishop f4, attacking the rook on c1 square. And here, okay, if you move the rook, then of course like rook a1 or something like that, you can definitely try in this position. And now can you guess the move? What can you play? See, we have this rook, but it is not having any good squares to move around. But okay, in this position, rook into c3 is a brilliant idea, because if you capture rook into c3, this rook will be going to d1 square, and the rook on a1 is hanging. If you capture, then of course it will be a queening position and white will be lost in that case. So the rook is not going anywhere. So knight into e2 was played, rook captures c1, knight captures d4, and rook e1 check, bishop f1, and now he plays bishop e4. Still it is not allowing any counter play from white side. And okay, the rest you can say like is just a technique by which Tal actually won the game. So I'll just go through the moves quite quickly. Bishop b5, because these two bishops are pretty strong. I hope that you are loving this game and you are enjoying the game, whichever moves we have seen. Until now everything was kind of smooth, and okay, the game ended very quickly. The center pawn was lost, and then because of the center pawn, he's going to win the game. They just played for a few more moves here, but when two bishops are there, it's pretty difficult to defend the position. And okay, the game converted into the rook endgame, but it is just lost because the pawn will not be like, you cannot really stop that pawn. You can go to e3 square, even if it comes here, then this, and if you can check, then you can go to c1 square. The pawn will be pushing forward, plus the rook will come to e2 square, and then king d1, and the pawn will definitely queen in that case, and white will be lost. So this is how Mikhail Tal won this beautiful game in their World Championship match, which happened in Moscow, guys, in the year 1960. So I hope that you enjoyed the analysis. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you are new here, and we'll be meeting very soon with some interesting game. Till that moment, take care, goodbye, and love you all.